Hi Crypt Keepers, thank you so much for tuning into Amy's Crypt. For this video, we are going to be delving into possession and exorcism, and to say that these topics are going to get a little bit dark is a complete understatement. Late last year, I visited an actual exorcism temple while I was in India, and it was one of the most intense experiences of my entire life. I do have a bit of footage from this visit to show and share with you guys, but I'm also just going to be talking about the complete experience and exactly what it was like to visit this very incredibly disturbing place. Now, before we do get started, I do just want to issue a warning for everybody watching out there. Some of the topics I'm going to be talking about are very, very dark, and I wouldn't say I have a lot of footage to share, but I do have some footage of supposedly possessed people within this exorcism temple in India that I'm going to be sharing with you. And admittedly, for me, these images are quite disturbing. So I wanted to just leave a warning here. If you don't think that you're up to watching this video, that is completely fine. But I just wanted to say, potentially these images are disturbing and triggering for some. So as I have already mentioned, late last year I visited India, and when some of you guys, my viewers, found out that I was heading over, I did get a whole ton of suggestions. A lot of people were giving me places that they wanted me to see, they wanted me to make videos of, experience, and go and visit. One of those was the Mehandipur Balaji temple. So I did a little bit of research on this one, and I found that it was actually an exorcism temple, and because I was going to be in Jaipur, it was actually reachable and accessible for me to go and visit. And while I was in India, I visited so many places that were really, really interesting and unique, where the paranormal is kind of involved. And the paranormal, if you guys don't know me, is my whole life. If you just flick through my channel, I visited some of the most haunted places from all over the world. So an exorcism temple was something a little bit unique, different, and really, really drew me in. But I tell you what, in all honesty, the more reading and research that I did on the Mehandipur Balaji temple, the more nervous I got to kind of visit. So as I just said, I have visited a lot of haunted places from all over the world, and this was kind of next level. This was something totally different rather than just visiting a haunted place. You're going somewhere with real life people, real living people who are supposedly possessed. So what is the Mehandipur Balaji temple? This place is a Hindu temple, and it sits in Rajasthan, India. It is very, very remote though, so it's in a small village that's kind of in the middle of the countryside, and it is completely dedicated to the Hindu deity Hanuman. Now, Lord Hanuman is said to be the god of strength, also known as Balaji, which is where this temple gets its name from. So this exorcism temple is very well known. It has almost become this holy place of pilgrimage where a lot of people from all over India will come and visit just to go to this place. Now, it's said to be very powerful with this magical presence where it actually has healing properties, and that is just one of the reasons why a lot of people flock here to have exorcisms performed on either themselves or people that they deem to be possessed by entities, evil spirits, or even demons. Now, some of the magical properties that this temple and its surroundings possess are not just to do with exorcisms, but also to do with healing. And it is definitely seen as a place where you would go for help with things such as getting rid of negative spirits, energy, or even if you have been affected in some way by black magic, whether that is bad luck or a curse or something of the like. So the story and origins behind this temple are actually quite old. So the place where this temple exists today used to be a forest. So there was no temple, there was no village, and supposedly Lord Hanuman actually visited somebody in their dreams and called upon them to kind of worship them. This obviously led to someone creating this temple, this holy place, just for Lord Hanuman, and eventually the village was formed around it, and I mean today is an extremely bustling, very, very popular destination to come and visit. Now, as I mentioned, a lot of people make the pilgrimage, thousands each day, to the Mehandipur Balaji temple, and it's not just a place where you come to kind of get an exorcism. You'll find a lot of people just kind of passing through, sending off their offerings within the temple, and that is kind of the extent to their visit. They're not staying any longer to have demons or spirits expelled from their body, but they may be coming for other reasons, whether that's to pay the respect or, you know, maybe they're seeking healing of something else. But obviously this temple is best known and notorious. It has a huge reputation for performing these exorcisms, and they are pretty much live. Like, anyone passing through the temple can witness these rituals, these exorcisms taking place. So now that I've kind of gone through what this temple is all about and its history, I do want to share with you guys in depth, kind of step by step, and walk you through what my visit was like, what my experience was like. But before I do this, I really just want to touch on both possession and exorcism. So possession simply translates to having, owning, or controlling someone or something. And it is believed that an entity could enter your body and pretty much take over. And you know, we've all seen this. We've all seen this in Hollywood movies, or these stories that get circulated, you know, supposedly true stories. And a lot of the time, demons are involved. But I do just want to look at possession for a minute through a different cultural lens, i.e. India. So in India, it's not necessarily just a very evil, dark entity such as a demon that could occupy and possess your body. Of course, in, you know, Western cultures, sometimes you might hear about a ghost possessing someone, but in India it could be, you know, a ghost, a demon type entity, or even a jinn, which is kind of a different type of entity completely, which kind of is interdimensional and can skip beyond, you know, the human sort of dimension that we exist within, but others as well. Now, obviously, even if you have something inhabiting your body and kind of controlling you that isn't this evil, evil demon, it's still not good. It's not desirable. It could still have very negative effects on you. And this is where the exorcisms come into play. And an exorcism is basically just the expelling of whatever that thing is that is occupying your body's space. And again, why people come and visit the exorcism temple. And at the end of the day, knowing all of this and knowing what goes on within this temple and this place was, honestly, it was really intimidating to me. And again, it's a totally different type of video or topic to cover on my channel, AmysCrypt. So I really got nervous about visiting, and I had no idea of kind of what to expect. But you know, I said to myself, I don't even think that I'm going to be able to film this experience, but I'm going to put myself out there. I am in India, why not? So I was like, I'm going to visit and wing it. And at the very least, this is going to be an experience just for me, or something that I can at least sit down and kind of share with you all in a sit down chat style video, such as what we're doing now. And before I go too much further, I do just want to leave a note that every single person that Jared and I spoke to about visiting this temple, whether that was before, during, or after our visit to the Mehandipur Balaji, every single person said, yes, you're okay to film. I mean, at the end of the day, we felt incredibly uncomfortable filming in there, so we have a very small, minute, you know, collection of footage from the visit. I'm still going to be sharing it with you all, but just know that there may be some, you know, faces blurred just to protect the people's identity who were there that day. So upon arriving in town, upon arriving in this little village, our driver kind of parked at the very start of the long main road that leads to the temple, and we had to walk the rest on foot. And it was a little bit intimidating just because there was a whole lot of people there. This little village in the middle of nowhere is bustling. It is very, very busy. We finally reached the temple and we entered one. It wasn't the Mehandipur Balaji temple, it was a different place, and I knew straight away that we were in the wrong temple. This place was a lot cleaner, quieter, and more orderly than I knew the exorcism temple was. Anyway, we went and saw one of the street vendors and tried to have a little chat with them. Massive language barrier, but we tried. We bought some offerings that we were going to take into the exorcism temple with us, and found someone who could kind of look after our shoes, and then we kind of joined the line. Alright, so we're just heading in now, and it's pretty crazy out there. We've got a small offering and we really don't know what we're in for. I mean, just looking at the lineup looks crazy. We might not be able to film inside either, but they say they do live exorcisms in there, so Now I'll tell you what as well, guys, even the lineup to get into this place kind of freaked me out. I don't think that you could visit here if you're claustrophobic at all, because even the passageway that you line up to be able to get inside the temple is kind of all caged in. It's narrow, there's a lot of people there, and forget about your personal space bubble, it doesn't exist there. So basically everyone gets crushed up together, and the closer and closer you progress to the entrance to the temple, the more and more crushed up against all of the other people you get, until you're essentially just being pushed along by the crowd. You don't have control of where you want to go or what you want to do. You're just moving with a sea of people through the temple. So just waiting in line, and I haven't really been able to find anyone that speaks English yet. And there's a lot of people, and we're almost like caged in, just waiting to move up further. Every so often, this pressure and being crushed up is kind of broken though, and you'll just hear someone coming up the back of the line screaming their head off, screaming in pain, in terror, and they're kind of being escorted by a bunch of other people, restrained and carried as they're thrashing about and fighting them. Now they make it through the line a lot faster because they are supposedly a possessed person who needs to be rushed inside in a very timely manner. So everyone kind of moves out the way for these people to be carried through, and they're just, you know, thrashing their limbs, crying out, and it's a very disturbing, very off-putting thing to see as you're lining up to kind of enter the temple. As these people are being ushered through really fast as well, everybody in the line can kind of understand it and let them go ahead, but they also start chanting in unison. So everyone is saying something, they were saying something in Hindi. I have no idea or clue what they may have been. I really wish that I knew. But they just start chanting as these people screaming and crying are carried through and ushered through the crowd. Finally, we would reach the entrance to the temple. And now, as I said, I don't speak the language there. A lot of the time in these situations, it's very difficult to know what to do and how to act. So this is a good tip for anyone traveling somewhere foreign and you're in a strange situation, you don't know what to do. Just watch everyone else and copy them. That's literally what I do. We hadn't found anyone at this point that actually spoke English to help guide us. But as we were entering the temple, I noticed a lot of people were reaching up and touching the ceiling as they walked through. So I did that. Then as we entered the very start part, there was a room, again, all crushed together. There were several priests in this room, and they were all behind these caged barricades. And I feel like that was actually a safety precaution for them, because it was just like a stampede of people constantly pushing through. They would just get crushed and like overthrown so quickly if they weren't behind these barricades. Now they also had these large bonfires, and everyone was kind of giving them their little offerings. The priests would take from that and then throw the food or the petals, whatever it was, in this big fire. So I mean, I did the same thing. They took my offering, threw it in a big bonfire. So after this, we kind of just kept moving with the crowd, and eventually you'll reach this massive gold idol. Like, this thing is huge. And I noticed everyone kind of go up to it and just give it a little rub, just touch it. I do believe that this was actually the large idol of Hanuman, and it's said not to be man-made at all, so not created by a person or an artist or the like. It was actually kind of just appeared there one day, and I think that the legend is Hanuman bought this idol of himself in sort of as a gift. So on we continue, and we actually reach this section that was outside, and I look around and I see just a lot of people hanging out, a lot of people having conversation and just talking, and it really did just seem like a little hangout spot. It was really chill, and I was kind of glad about that, because obviously before I visited this place, I had done some reading and some research online, and I did read that a number of people had witnessed human beings in kind of cages outside of the temple waiting to go inside. So not only cages, but actually being chained up physically, you know, chained, or being chained up onto large rocks and large boulders as they were being beaten. And that just seems really barbaric and torturous, inhumane to me. I am happy that I didn't witness anything like that. So I'm not sure if the reading that I did was a true reflection of what they saw, whether it was sensationalized, whether it was something that happened a long time ago, I don't know, but I'm just happy that that wasn't something that I witnessed during my own visit to the exorcism temple. And although I didn't witness that type of stuff, what I saw was still disturbing, and it was mostly disturbing in the next building that we kind of visited. So the last structure that you walk through is almost like this massive hall, and inside this hall, when you enter, there was a lot of people. There was other areas kind of set up where you could go and burn more of your offerings, but then there was also like these bonfires set up, and a big area where people were kind of gathering and sitting on the floor. And if you look, looking around the room, I could see a lot of people who seemed very distressed, as if they were in physical pain, sitting on the floor, kind of rocking back and forward, and they didn't seem in, the right headspace. They were banging their heads a lot, thrashing their heads around, and, even banging their heads on walls or pillars. It was quite a disturbing thing to see, and I would say that these were the people brought here who were in need of the exorcisms. And you think that this experience couldn't get any more uncomfortable or more strange, but for me it kind of did. So as we were walking inside this hall, I noticed that there was a large group of men who were following me, and I turned around because Jared was saying something about, are we being followed? I was like, yeah, they're filming me. It was just a large group of guys with their phones out, and they were filming me and taking photos of me. And that's always kind of uncomfortable, but I did kind of get used to it in India, and I found that it was kind of the norm. So people over in India seem very intrigued and fascinated and just interested by anyone who appears to be foreign. Obviously, like, I appeared to be very foreign there, and they want to come up and talk to you, and they want to meet you, and they want to take photos of you and have a selfie with you. Now, I actually think that I have some audio from the moment that I realized that these people were kind of following me as well.
So we come through here, and then this is the last bit, you think, or do you think there's more? Are we getting followed?
Yeah, that man's like filming us.
Anyway, basically their intentions were pretty pure. They just wanted to have a selfie with me. So I stopped and I turned around and kind of confronted them and was like, hi, like just kind of struck up a conversation. They asked to have some photos. And although it was a very weird setting in the exorcism temple, I was like, okay, sure. So I had some kind of selfies with these people, and funnily enough, it actually drew a little bit of a crowd, and there was a lineup of men to have their photo taken with me. And it was very uncomfortable because kind of to that point, Jared and I were like, we're just not going to film in here. We're just not going to film. It doesn't feel right. But then everyone had their cameras out, everyone had their phones out. I'm sure there's photos of me in the exorcism temple floating around out there somewhere. I have no idea where. But I did take a lot of selfies with people there, and we were kind of saying, is it okay to have your camera out here? And everyone's like, yeah. So at that point, Jared thought, okay, I'm just gonna get a few shots of what it looks like in here because this is something we did want to share with everybody. So I'm just gonna show you all just a few. They're very short clips. We did not take a lot of footage because we kind of stopped. It just felt so uncomfortable. But I'm just gonna show you guys a few clips. You may notice faces blurred, but this is just so that you get the vibe and feeling of what it was like in this exorcism hall. Now, after all this commotion had kind of subsided a bit, I said to Jared, let's just sneak towards the back of the hall and kind of sit in a corner and try and hide from everyone and just observe what is going on, because I did really just want to take it all in. So we went to the back of the hall and sat in a corner, and I was just kind of observing everyone, and it was intense. It was quite heartbreaking, to be honest. I was looking out at all these people, and you can see the desperation on not only the supposedly possessed people who are there thrashing about and just looking like undescribable, really. Like, not only them, they're also kind of surrounded by who I assume are their loved ones, the probably family or friends, the people that have felt strong enough that this person has a lot of issues and we need to get them help. We need to bring them to this temple where maybe, you know, they can be rid of all of the things that are affecting them. So I mean, it is very, very sad. Now, the main form of what I would say exorcism that I kind of saw here was singing or chanting and kind of like ritualistic like circling of people. So I haven't really heard too much of how the exorcisms are kind of performed, and it wasn't something we really saw too much of. We also didn't get a lot of context being there and not being able to speak the language or talk to too many people. I was so happy though, because while we were sitting in the back of this hall, a young lady came up to me, and her name was Symbol, and she just was really keen to talk to me. She was a student and she was studying English, and I guess because not as many people speak English over there, it's much more difficult to find someone to practice with. So she came over and she's like, "Can we talk? I would love to practice my English." And I was like, "Sure, of course." And she did offer us some insight into the temple, of why she was there and what was going on with other people. Unfortunately, she didn't want to talk to me on camera, which I totally respect, but everything that she did say to me was really great information. Now, her personally, she wasn't from the area. She had traveled there, and this was actually her vacation choice because she wanted to visit the temple and experience it. She was seeing it as a really almost like holy place to come and be around and feel the energy of. I had asked her about the people who were, you know, supposedly possessed there, and she said that it was most likely that they had jinns inside of their body, and that was why they were there and why they were acting in that certain way. And I don't know if she's ever going to see this video, probably not, but if by chance she does come across and does see it, thank you so much for talking to me. That was really, really nice of you. Now, we did spend a good amount of time in the temple, but it was honestly quite a heavy place to kind of be in and just observe and watch what was happening. So we eventually did leave, and when we left, we came out onto the street in front of the temple. And again, there was more strange things happening that I didn't quite understand. There must have been some kind of mass prayer going on, because the road that is directly in front of the temple was just filled with people. There was all of these people just kind of sitting and praying on the road, and it was a little bit chaotic, I must admit, because this is the main road, like the main road going through the entire town, the entire village. So not only were all these people just gathered on the floor, all these bodies, there was also the same amount of traffic that was trying to get through. So there was motorbikes and tuk-tuks and everything trying to get in around these people, and I'm just really not sure what was going on there. We are going to get run over by a motorbike. We're out the front of the temple, and I don't know if it's the time of day, but everyone's on the floor praying or standing around, but traffic's still trying to flow through, so. Now, it was here while we were standing outside at the front of the temple on the street that we were approached by a second person, and this man was really, really lovely. He also declined to talk to me on camera though, which I respect, but he came over because he could speak a bit of English. He noticed us and thought, oh cool, I can go and use my kind of English skills on these foreign people. So he came up to us and we did have a good chat. I did feel a little bit bad while I was talking to him. He was saying to me how like proud and excited he was that, you know, Jared and I had come all this way to visit the temple that's, you know, inside of the town that he lives in. And he was asking me how I was feeling. You must be feeling so great since you've just come out of the temple. Like, tell me about what you're feeling. And I couldn't honestly describe to him what I was feeling, not just because I was trying to collect my own thoughts, but I did not feel good going through and witnessing what I did. It was in all honesty, it was a little bit depressing for me to go through and just see those people suffering in such a way. But I didn't want to show disrespect to his beliefs or culture, so I was just kind of like, yeah, I just kind of went along with what he was saying, because he was saying so much to me, like, you must feel great, this is a healing temple, it's very holy, very special that you get to visit. So, I mean, it is difficult, you know. Now, in that moment as well, I really wanted to talk through everything that was going on in my head after the visit, and I tried to on camera. I just couldn't collect my own thoughts and my own feelings. And I felt that I needed to like process everything that I had seen and kind of experienced, and then maybe do like a full sit down video with you guys, just as I'm filming right now, to kind of go through step by step everything that happened and just how I felt about the whole experience. Alright, we just got out of the temple and it was really, really intense, and it was really sad in there. I was completely confused by what was kind of going on, and I think that I'm going to need to do a longer sort of sit down talk video with you guys about this one, because that was maybe one of the oddest experiences I've ever had, and this is something totally new and different to my channel. But yeah, it was intense is my word for that one. Now I'll tell you what as well, guys, this experience of visiting the Exorcism temple in India, that will stick with me forever. I actually do think about it a lot, just personally. I think it really, really affected me. And one of the main reasons for this was my empathy just went into overdrive when I was there. I could really put myself in the shoes of these people and really, really feel for them. And I think a lot about the individuals there just going to seek help, or taking their family member there to kind of seek help. Just in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, take it for what it is, but I don't necessarily believe that these people were possessed. Like, sure, maybe some of them could be, but I do strongly feel that there could have been some psychological issues there at play, and these people weren't necessarily inhabited and taken over by a demon or some kind of dark entity that was controlling their mind and their body. I also just released a video that was covering a lot of topics surrounding psychology and the paranormal, and I kind of touched on this a little bit there. I think that it's very, very important to rule out anything medical, psychological, or psychiatric kind of issues with someone before jumping to the conclusion that, hey, this person is possessed. There's a demon in there, we've got to get it out. We need to go and have an exorcism. I just think that it's important to try to do the right thing by the person who is being affected, and maybe diving into having an exorcism could do more harm than good, and it might not necessarily be something, you know, related to an evil entity or a demon or the like. And I get it, this is a total blanket statement, and it might not be as applicable over in India. I don't really know the mental health facilities, awareness or accessibility over in India, and maybe, you know, going to seek psychiatric help is just not something that's attainable for the families of the people who maybe their last resort is to take their loved one to the exorcism temple. So I know that it's difficult for me, you know, living in Australia, to comment on something like this. I just think that it's an important issue that anyone in the paranormal field should be aware of, and we should always take the time to rule out, you know, anything medical or going on with the mind before considering getting someone exorcised. And who knows, maybe the people who were in the temple this day, or some of the people passing through, were actually possessed, and maybe there is something magical or spiritual going on at the temple that helps them. Maybe it's even just a placebo that helps these people if they believe in something enough. I don't know, and I can't say for sure. This is just me sharing my own opinions and beliefs about something, so take it for, you know, what that is. Just my opinion. Mostly when I do reflect on this whole experience, my visit to the Exorcism temple. I don't feel great about it. It is a little bit hard for me to think about, a little bit depressing, and I really have a lot of empathy, and I really feel strongly for these people. And I do hope that however or whatever way this may be, that somehow these people are able to find their peace. Now, I do hope that you have enjoyed watching this video. I feel like I have been rambling for quite a long time, but I'm hoping that it's a good kind of ramble and that you've been kind of enjoying what I've shared, this experience and the points of view that I'm bringing up. I would love to hear your thoughts on it. Like, do you believe in possession? Do you believe in exorcism? Have you ever experienced anything along this lines? Maybe you're from India and you've actually visited this temple before. I would love to hear about it in the comments below. But guys, if you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. That really helps me out. If you want to do any more reading about this Exorcism temple or any haunted places from around the world that I visited, head to my website, AmysCrypt.com. You guys can also follow me in what I'm getting up to on social media. I'm at AmysCrypt on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram. I'm also posting a bunch of bonus content over on my Patreon and my YouTube members, which I'm going to link below for you guys. But thank you so much for watching, Crypt Keepers. Until next time.